Hey everyone, I think I need an assistant. Intern to help with these shows. Let me just check, make sure I can hear audio. Just going to check. Almost there. There we go. Okay, we're good. We're good to go. So, interesting discussion today. Good morning, Richard. How you doing? Sounds good. Hello from London. Very interesting. Let me see if this is going to... Yeah, there we go. So I'm Richard Taylor. This is Final Cut Pro TV, FCP TV, live. And we are going to discuss the possibility that was brought up this morning from a couple of places about Apple's doing a subscription for Final Cut Pro. Now, there's lots of opinions. We have lots of opinions about that. Subscription, no. Paid updates, yes. So what would be exactly the difference between those two? Lionel James says, nice phone. He's referring to this guy over here, our Apple hotline over here. Our hotline right to Apple. I agree. No subscription, only paid updates if necessary. I don't think that the money is the issue here. We'll go over the articles, the specifics of what the article talk about, because they are very specific. And Apple did do something that brought people's attention to this rental of software. Apple did that themselves, right? They did. They did indeed. Let me just check something here. Yes, that's there. Okay. Just wanted to check. So this is, Eric Emmerich says, generally not a fan of subscriptions, but some are better than others. Have to see the details. Exactly. If Apple were to announce a subscription for Final Cut Pro, let's wait to see the details if it happens. I'm not convinced that that's going to happen at all. I'm not sure. Eric says the same thing, not convinced it's going to happen. If I had to bet, I would say no, it's not going to happen. But I'm not really a gambling person, so I wouldn't put any money down other than maybe a coffee. A coffee? That would be fine. You can do a coffee. Sounds good. Hi from a very humid and hot South Africa. I bet it's hot. I bet it's hot there. Yeah, subs for Final Cut Pro, not really all that keen. So I'm not keen for software subscriptions, but here's the thing. I don't mind supporting smaller developers with subscriptions. The software that I'm using. This software that I'm using right here is a subscription. In order to get all these features, you have to support the people it's actually a couple of brothers. You actually have to support what they're doing with the subscription. So I have a subscription for this. There's a few things that I have that are subscriptions, and I don't mind supporting developers that have subscriptions. This is Ecamm Live, by the way. So, greetings from Italy. Greetings, Simone. Hopefully Apple rethink this idea. I don't think this is definite by any means, stretch of the imagination. This is just something that came up when they refiled for the trademark for Final Cut Pro. Apple absolutely changed something. They added in the trademark filing subscription or software rental. So they did that probably for the future, perhaps for the future. Now, money is the issue, then I could do the distortion model from Adobe. The difference, here's the problem with the Adobe model. I don't mind paying a subscription as long as I can keep the version that I've paid for, the current version. So if I just say I paid through version 10.5 of Final Cut, and I didn't want to keep on paying the subscription, as long as 10.5 keeps working, that's fine. I have no problem with that. There's a couple of pieces of software that I don't update every time they expire. Waves plugins, for example. I have a high-end platinum one of the high-end Waves plugins bundles. I do not update them every time the update subscription the update subscription expires. They have something called WUP, Waves Update Plan. I don't do that. Sometimes I'll wait 6 months, sometimes I'll wait a year, then I'll get the update plan. So I don't do it continuously. I do it when there's something that I want. As long as, if, I'm not saying that they're going to, if Apple did a subscription, first off, I don't think it would be subscription only. I think a subscription would be an option. In other words, an option plus you also could buy it still. That's a standalone. At least initially. I mean, the future may be subscription. Who knows? 10 years from now, I don't care. But I don't think, first off, I don't think that this is going to happen in the near future, but it could. And here's a perfect time that it could happen. The new version of Final Cut that they've been working on for years, okay? Final Cut 10.4 is 36, 37, 38 months old, over 3 years old at this point. Yeah, 10.5 came out. It wasn't an update. It was just for the M1 Mac people, Apple Silicon Mac people, which is a very small minority of Final Cut Pro editors at this point. So 10.5 wasn't the kind of update we were expecting from 10.4. We're still waiting for the big update from 10.4. Could be 10.6 or it could be 10.11. I mean, Final Cut Pro 11 in June. 10-year anniversary. Initially, they talked about a 10-year roadmap. So it's taking so long to get from Final Cut Pro 10.4. This new version of Final Cut could be a brand new version. Not like from 10.7 to 10.0. I mean, not like Final Cut Pro 7 to Final Cut Pro 10, but just a big jump in the Final Cut Pro 10 world. Could be Final Cut Pro 11. We don't know. But anyway, the Adobe model is you can't, if you have, say, version whatever of Adobe Premiere and you stop paying, you keep that version and it keeps running. No. Adobe cut you off completely. You can't use any of their software. You have to keep paying for the rest of your life or the software won't work. That's the model that I absolutely don't like and I absolutely will not support. That model. Some of the small developers, like I said, Ecamm Live, there's a couple other ones that I have that I get every year. I just renewed my Restream.io account for another year. I'm using Restream to broadcast to Facebook, YouTube, Periscope TV simultaneously. I send them the signal, they broadcast it out to the others. I don't mind that. Kenneth says, also depends on the price for me. It's like 15 pounds. It's okay, but it's like 25 pounds. That would be too much for me because I'm not a pro user. It's a hobby thing for me. Listen, Final Cut Pro, Apple is going to take care of everybody. I don't think they're going to do it, first off. I don't think they're going to do it. If they do it, I think it's going to be an option. I think people that have already bought Final Cut Pro will be fine. You'll have that option. Who the heck knows? If they do subscription, then updates cannot take years and years. There you go. I mean, it's been very vacant on the Final Cut Pro update scene for the last couple of years. They had 10.4.9, which was welcome, especially the proxy workflow part of that and some other things. But before that, it was like almost a year before nothing. And now since then, it's 7 months, 8 months. Yes, they did 10.5, but that's not The majority of Final Cut Pro users are on Intel, so it doesn't affect, 10.5 did not affect the majority of Final Cut Pro users, the vast majority. Same here, Kenneth. Listen, there's a lot of people talking about this today. I have a lot of comments that I'm going to bring in. Let's all assume the folks in Cupertino have their ears on and maybe your phone will ring with more clues. Maybe this phone will ring. Absolutely. We'll see what happens. We'll have to see. So let me see what I have here. I'm just going to check something. This is my desk, for those of you not familiar. This is my Stream Deck XL. I got the big one. My Apollo Twin X. This is my iPhone, which is controlling this camera. It's controlling this camera. So I can zoom. This is the bird feeder, but I can go to my whole entire backyard by just doing that. That's the entire backyard, but I like to concentrate on the bird feeder itself. See if we get any birds coming in there. But anyway, this is my desktop. I don't have any coffee today. It's kind of late for that. So once again, I don't think it's going to happen in the near future, but we don't know for a fact. Well, I'm going to check something. Backyard, that's what I was going to do. I'm checking for slides. Let me just see something here. Slides. So that is, I don't want that. Let me pull that back up again. Let me go find the PDF that I made. Oh, there it is. What the heck? Here we go. All right, let me see if this works. I think it will. Slides. Let me pull this over here. Yes, there we go. And I'm going to do this. And then I'm going to do this. So I'm above the slide. See, there we go. There we go. Just wanted to check that out. We're going to get to the slides in a minute. So let's do some more. Let's do some more comments here. Apple has cut you off at some point, at some time anyway, when macOS gets updated and Final Cut Pro doesn't start anymore, you have to stop updating entirely. Well, updating what? You mean Final Cut Pro? Remember, listen, the trend with Apple is to reduce the price of their software and give it away for free. Remember when we used to pay for Mac OS updates? We don't pay for Mac OS updates anymore. All that development that goes into Mac OS updates. We don't pay for iMovie. We don't pay for their email client. We don't pay for a lot of their software. The only software we're paying for is the Pro apps at this point. Now, there might be a legal reason why they have to charge. I don't know. And iCloud, if you want to get that, that's one of the subscription services they have. Hi from the UK. Question, please. Is there a way to move a clip to the playhead with a keyboard shortcut? You can in Logic. Keyboard shortcut, I can't think of one in Final Cut. You can in other NLEs, and you can in Logic. You can place clip at playhead. I don't think there is one for Final Cut. If somebody knows of one, I mean, you can drag and snap to it, yes, but as far as a keyboard shortcut, I don't think so. I'm sure they used to charge for updates when we were in the Final Cut Pro days, yes. Yes, they did. They charged every time it went from 5 to 6 to 7. All three of those were charges. They were $100, $199, something like that, a couple $100. The elephant in the NLE room, free Resolve 17. Listen, Resolve, I'm a big fan of Resolve. Resolve is a fantastic piece of software. I really like it. I've been using it to edit some things. Good point. Thank you for asking the community about that shortcut. I don't think there is one. Now, could there be one coming? Sure, absolutely. I really think that they're rewriting Final Cut Pro. I think we're going to get a brand new version. I don't think it's going to be Final Cut Pro 10.4 with some bolt-on features. I don't think that's going to happen. I think they're actually rewriting the whole application. It'll still be Final Cut Pro 10 or whatever they're going to call it, Final Cut Pro 11. But there's going to be some changes, and I hope one of the changes is indeed an audio reworking, because I do most of my audio in Logic at this point. It's not for basic video editing, but for anything extensive, I go to Logic. All right, let's do a couple of these slides. Welcome to Final Cut Pro. Will Apple start a subscription model for Final Cut Pro? That is the question. These are some of the comments that I gathered on Twitter. Computer Clan, one of the best features about Final Cut Pro is you don't have to subscribe. You pay once and you're done. I wonder how this will work. It might not happen. I mean, this is just the possibility that it's going to happen. Let's go over let's go over this where I first saw this morning. Final Cut Pro subscription might be on the way as Apple updates trademark. This is where I first saw it. Apple has filed a trademark. Let me boost that a little bit. Apple has filed a trademark update that paves the way for a future Final Cut Pro subscription. I don't know if it paves the way, but maybe it does. Apple's Pro video editing software is currently a $300 one-off purchase with all updates free of charge so far. There's no guarantee that those updates are going to stay free. That's just what has happened so far. Here's the interesting part. Apple's Final Cut Pro was granted registered trademark status back in May 2016. Now, what happened between 2011 and 2016? It was out in 2011. Why did it take them 5 years to get a registered trademark? So it says computer software, blah, 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 creating, editing, etc. The term software rental was not part of the registered trademark back in 2016. On Monday, that's this Monday, Apple filed an update to their trademark. Final Cut Pro in Europe adding NICE classification number 42 that hints that Apple could decide to go the way On Monday, Apple filed an update to their trademark Final Cut Pro in Europe, adding NICE classification 42 that hints that Apple could decide to go the way of Microsoft's subscription model for Final Cut Pro by adding in that class verbiage covering rental of software. So Apple did something very specific. They specifically and actively added rental of software for Final Cut Pro trademark. As the site notes, this is very specific steps taken by Apple, very specific, very specific. They didn't do it for no reason. They didn't do it because their people are not busy. And they said, just go ahead and make something up and we'll put it in there. They did it for a reason. Rental of software. They did it for a reason. So here's some of the things they identified. There are 4 potential scenarios for Final Cut Pro subscription. First, Apple could retain the one-off purchase option, but charge a subscription fee for major updates. Okay, I can see that. Second, the company could offer new users the choice of a one-off purchase or a monthly subscription to use the app. Here's the thing with that. $300 isn't that much money. You know, $300 is not that much money. So, and the educational version is even less. It's $199. So the idea that it's expensive and renting is cheaper, it doesn't really make sense. I mean, maybe a student in high school, maybe that would be something, but it doesn't really make sense to me. So company could offer new users the choice of a one-off purchase or monthly subscription. That would be fine. Third, Apple could remove the option of a one-off purchase and turn Final Cut Pro into a subscription service. This possibility would dismay many who dislike the software as a service trend, preferring occasional app purchase costs to recurring monthly fees. I would be one of those. Apple is not a developer that needs the money that much. Finally, another option is that Apple might be keeping things as is and only charging a subscription for those who want to use some kind of cloud-based version of Final Cut. That might mean access to an iPad version of the app as well as the Mac app in addition to cloud storage. That's very interesting. So it says, although the move does appear to be a very deliberate one, that doesn't mean Apple has any current plans to change its business model for Final Cut. It doesn't mean Apple has any current plans to change its business model. It is a very deliberate act they did. They absolutely included software rental in the trademark. That Apple did that, so it's very specific. They did it for a reason. If it's just to future-proof, if it's just to keep their options over, that's fine. But does suggest it is at least seriously considering the possibility. If you've ever been on the fence about buying it, now might be a good time to make a decision. It certainly is a good time. I've had it since day one, and I've only paid the $2.99 fee. And let me straighten my keyboard out here. So it's weird, but I straighten it out in the view is different than actually on the actual desktop. It's not straight on the desktop, but it's straight aligned here at the bottom. No birds in the bird feeder. I guess it's actually, what's temperature? It's actually like 50 some degrees today. We got a lot of snow in the last couple of weeks, but today it's like 50 degrees. We got some more comments. Justine, Paul Robillard, if there's a new version, then there needs to be a training associated, new certifications. They've dropped the certifications as of version 4. There's no news that there's any certification for 5, but I think that's a very good possibility. I would be surprised if they didn't do it. I really hope Apple did not do that. I would pay for an update, but not for subscription service. I think a lot of people would. Don't worry about it at this point, okay? Don't worry about it. The odds of it happening are not, I don't think they're that great. Is there a chance? Yes. Apple did an action that included software rental. That's Apple. They did that. So they did that for a reason. Whatever the reason is, we're not sure. The name was Final Cut Pro X10, maybe. Now it's Final Cut Pro. Maybe the old name expired from the classic version. Who knows? Who knows? If I get regular, non-buggy updates for Final Cut Pro and Motion 5, I won't mind paying for a subscription. The cloud-based option makes the most sense. It makes the most sense for a couple of reasons, Eric. Number one is they're charging for iCloud. They could roll it into iCloud for people that wanted to do an iPad version that wouldn't be as robust, perhaps, as the full Mac version. We'll see. It's nothing to worry about right now. I'm sure we're going to get some kind of notice if they're thinking about adding it later. Hopefully, Apple's not going to just blindside us the way they did when they took Final Cut Pro 7 off sale the day that Final Cut Pro 10 went on sale. Hopefully, they've learned from that we don't like those kind of surprises. Let us know in advance. Say, hey, in 6 months, we're going to add a subscription service. These are some of the features. So if you want to buy it now, you go ahead and buy it now. If you want to wait, you can rent the version and get all your updates included. We're going to be charging something for Final Cut Pro 11. Who knows? We don't know. They certainly can charge. They never said they weren't going to charge. They only said they weren't going to charge for the first year in the terms of service. I always thought they lost loads of Pro users when they moved from Final Cut Pro to Final Cut Pro 10, and they have needed this free update time to bring back enough Pro users. I think Final Cut Pro is now great. They announced in 2018 at NAB that they had 2.5 million users, seats, 2.5 million seats of Final Cut Pro. I presume that means they sold that many. That was 3 years ago. In 3 years, I'm sure they've surpassed 3 million. They're probably up to 4 million at this point. 500,000 a year, up to 4 million, especially when they let people use it for 90 days during the pandemic. That was very, very nice of them. So they've got millions of users, plenty of Pro users. Hello, Garima. Video mixing. Maybe cloud means collaboration. That would be great. There you go. Maybe there's going to be a segment that says, if you want to collaborate, you have to subscribe. Jack Noon, is this subscription happening? No, it's not. Apple did a filing in their trademark that put in software rental, the words software rental. They very specifically and intentionally put software rental in the trademark for Final Cut Pro. They did that. Apple did it. They did it intentionally. Probably to future-proof. So if they want to do it at some point, they haven't updated the trademark since 2016. So they didn't have it. I don't know what was going on in 2011. They waited 5 years. They did the trademark. They waited another 5 years from 2016 to 2021 to update the trademark again. They're probably saying, just in case there's an issue where we want to do subscription, let's put those words in there. I don't think it's happening. Is this subscription happening? No, it's not. I'd rather it doesn't. What I love about Final Cut Pro is the one-time fee. Happy to pay for a big feature update, but I'd rather not do a subscription. Absolutely. I don't want to pay for a big feature update either. I want everything for free. They've got plenty of money. They can get new subscribers. Back in the day, Final Cut Pro 7 was the most popular NLE. Then Final Cut Pro came, and we know what happened there. A lot of people moved to Premiere, but people are moving back. This may cause people to think again. Jack Noon says, thank God. Thanks for the update, Richard. You're more than welcome. Listen, when I come on, when there's news about Final Cut Pro like this, I like to come on so the community, so all you guys and gals can come on. This is what I'm looking at right now. This is my desktop. I have a 34-inch LG monitor, 21 by 9 aspect ratio, I think it is. I really like this monitor. But this is what I'm watching as we're live. I have a screen over here, and I have the comments over here on this side that I can punch in. Below me, I have my audio level right here. I got to keep track of. You can see that bouncing around. And I have all these other things. I have the web page going there. I have a PDF that I have to monitor. So my point is, don't worry about the subscription right now. Let's discuss it. Apple watches this podcast. This isn't the podcast. Apple watches these live streams. So let them know your comments. Right? That's what we're doing here. Let's go. Let me see. Apple should consider that Final Cut Pro is also a promotional tool, and Apple makes dollars with third-party plugins. They make dollars with their hardware. They make dollars with their iPhones. They make dollars with their Mac Pros, their new whole line of Apple Silicon Macs that are coming out. They make lots of money, but they also make, listen, I want the Final Cut Pro team to have money. Absolutely, I want them to have money. Although I'm not sure what they've been doing for the last couple of years besides I know Metal 2 and Apple Silicon. That's not what I'm talking. I'm talking about new innovative features. Get innovative again, the way they did with the original version of Final Cut. Innovation, that's what I'm interested in. So let's do mine. Let me see, where's my slides? Here we go. Go some more comments here. This does not compute. I'd only consider a subscription model if it included all of Apple's Pro apps, like for $10, $15 a month. If they Adobe price it, then it might be time for me to jump ship to Resolve. So here's the thing with that. I'm using Resolve and Final Cut. I bought Resolve over the holidays. And I like it. I absolutely like it. It's my number 2 NLE at this point. Final Cut Pro is still number 1, but it depends on what Apple puts out next. I am an eternal optimist when it comes to Final Cut Pro. I always think that the Final Cut Pro team is going to do something spectacular. Have I been disappointed? Yes. The last 2 Creative Summits have been very disappointing, that they haven't done anything for either one of those when they did something for the 3 years prior to that. Doesn't make any difference. I'm still an optimist when it comes to Final Cut Pro. I expect that they have a major update coming. I think they're rewriting the app completely. I think it might be Final Cut Pro 11. 10 years, in June is 10-year anniversary of Final Cut Pro. They could say, okay, we've had our good 10 years, first 10 years. Now we're going on to the second 10 years. This is the brand new version of Final Cut Pro 11, whatever they want to call it. Maybe they'll just call it Final Cut Pro. Man Cave say we still see your desktop. Yeah, I just turned that off. Thanks. I think Apple should open a user forum where they can discuss with the users what they are planning to do with the software. This closed shop is frustrating. Yeah, they're not too big on keeping things open. Well, I definitely wouldn't support a subscription model. I would stick to DaVinci Resolve Studio, which I also have. I have both too. There's no reason why you can't have 2 NLEs, 2 DAWs. You don't have to switch from one to the other. You can have 2. I have 2. I have Final Cut in DaVinci Resolve. So here's one thing. B&H, I ordered DaVinci Resolve Studio 17 before Christmas. 2 months ago. I still haven't gotten it. 2 months, 60 days, and I still haven't gotten it. Now, I know B&H is not sitting on a stockpile, but they're feeding out as they get versions, but I'm still waiting on the actual real version. I'm using the beta now. Speaking of copyright, maybe Apple would be happy with the simple mention made with Final Cut Pro in the generic, like one must do with music and photos. I've seen that in a few movies, people that wanted to point out that it was edited in Final Cut Pro, but I'm not going to do that with most of my stuff. Now we're getting into feature requests. I would like to see an auto tracker mask, or motion auto tracker. Yes, I would too. So here we go back to our slides. Apple would seriously have to up their game if Final Cut Pro became a subscription product. Reading the piece, I think they are just covering their legal coverage. I agree. Technically, in the ULA, we're only renting the software anyway, not owning it. That is correct. We don't own the software. We can use the software as long as we abide by the end user license. So, but I understand what you're saying, and I agree. Serge M, these are on Twitter, publicly on Twitter. Do not switch Final Cut Pro to a subscription service. Sincerely, all Final Cut Pro users. Yes, I think most of us agree with that. Has DaVinci Resolve full version been released? I don't think it has, although people have said that they've gotten their license from B&H. I don't think it's been released. I've only seen the beta, but it's on beta 7, 8, 9, something like that. 7, 8, 9. Eric says no, still beta. It's still beta. I've been using it. I like it. There's a lot of things that I like in it. It has some very innovative ways of editing. I really like it. Just like Final Cut Pro does. Final Cut Pro absolutely has ways of editing as well. No birds. Where are those birds? This is my entire backyard. Let me just show you. So we've had 3 layers of snow, each one about 3 to 4 inches over the last 3 weeks. The last one came last Friday, was it? I think so. And in between, each layer gets melted and then turns to ice, and melts and turns to ice. I was watching the squirrels. They were like ice skating across this. You actually, unless it's warm out tonight, they actually you can't walk on it. It's too slippery. You actually can't walk. It's too much compaction of the melting and thawing and then freezing. Resolve has a longer beta than most. Not only does it have a longer beta, they put out a zillion betas. I mean, they put out the version a year ago. I guess 17 came out right around NAB, what NAB would have been last April. And since then, they have 7 betas. I don't know what the heck happened there. My internet had a hiccup. I'm not sure. Let me see what's going on here. If it's going to continue or if it's going to stop. I'm not sure. My entire backyard. Let me show you. So we've had 3 layers of snow, each one about 3 to 4 inches over the last. I'm not sure if it's going to continue streaming, but I'm back on again. Let me see something here. Let me just see if I'm back on. I'm not sure if it's going to be continuing. Oh, yeah. It's back on. At least on Facebook. Let me see something here. Facebook is still back on, so. No, it wasn't yours. Every once in a while, my internet router went offline. So I'm not sure. I don't know if it's on. Facebook came back on. So that's one of the good things about doing Restream.io. I'm not sure. Looks like the internet is breaking all over the world. I hope not. Oh, I'm back on YouTube too? That is so cool. That is just so cool to me that, let me just see. If it's going to continue. Listen, here's what happened. So I got a notice that said streaming stopped, internet connection failed. Checked my router, the one that I've been using wasn't available. literally, I was off for about a minute. Once it came back online, the router that I'm using, I reconnected, went back live, and it continued on both Facebook and YouTube where I left off. That is very, very, very cool. I really, really like that. You're back. YouTube is good too. Thanks, you guys. Yeah, me too. I was about to almost restart my browser. So I don't know how, I guess I don't know if it's Ecamm doing that or if it's Restream.io doing that. I don't know, but it's very, very cool. So, obviously if something goes wrong, I'll have to stop. But for right now, we're still good. So let's do this. So there was also a second page. Final Cut Pro subscription model coming as Apple updates trademark. I think they're both referencing the same place. Don't forget it's available for $199 education if you're a teacher or a student. That's really cheap. That's for Final Cut Pro and Logic and Main Stage and Motion and Compressor, all for $199. So this is what doesn't make sense. $199, I would take a class just to get it for $199. All those for $199. Normally that'd be $500, right? So this is the second article. There's a couple of articles out there that said Final Cut Pro subscription model coming as Apple updates trademark. That's not accurate. It's not definitely coming. It's just a possibility. Oh, you know what? Yeah, it's interesting. My backyard camera's offline, but that's okay. Let's go back to our slides. Should this ever come to fruition, I would wholeheartedly abandon Final Cut Pro, even though I love using it. But as I utterly abhor subscription software, one of the many reasons I deserted Pro Tools, so I won't even hesitate to jump ship. A lot of people say that as well. A lot of people say that. Listen, first off, there's no guarantee it's going to happen. There's no guarantee it's going to happen. It's just Apple did something. Apple put software rental in the trademark for Final Cut Pro on Monday that hasn't been there for 10 years. They did this. It was obviously intentional. That just means they're probably future-proofing their options. That's probably what they're doing. Ernest White says, yes, Facebook just came back up. I almost restarted my browser. Lutz gave me a big thumbs up. Good deal. I'm not sure exactly how they do that, but boy, I really like that I can do that. FCPX subscription with free iCloud computing. Pay as you go. You rent Final Cut Pro and all the rendering is done remotely on a brand new Mac from Apple. It wouldn't work for a lot of people right now, but I could see that getting big with the rise of symmetrical gigabit plus internet to homes. The only reason I purchased Adobe over Final Cut Pro is because it isn't a subscription model. In my eyes, they need both, but we know that won't happen. It makes complete sense for Apple to do subscription due to the appeal from wannabe content creators that are young, but yeah, I don't know. Well, none of us know. We're here to discuss it. That's one of the things that I wanted to do, is let everybody talk to each other live as we're going here. Arg, that's not good news. Michael Wright says we had a good run, I guess. Imagine older versions will continue to work, just not get updates. I guess more will be revealed. Yes, more will be revealed. That's exactly right. It's not going to happen anytime soon. If it happens, I hope Apple is sensible enough to give us a warning. But even then, I think you're going to still continue to use the version that you paid for. It will be the end of Final Cut Pro for me. If they go this way, I am done with any subscription model. Some people feel that. For me, I wish they have a server version where they could form teams and share libraries remotely built right into the browser, basically build in Frame.io's functionality inside Final Cut Pro. I'd pay a subscription for that. Have some more comments. Companies want to make money. Apple is no exception, of course. Many retired persons are used to work with Final Cut Pro, but if it goes to a subscription scheme, there will be many dropped, even if the pedagogical are freely released. Apple must consider that Final Cut Pro returns dollars because many use iCloud to store files, which since they are big, to incite to subscribe, to which to returns a lot of cash to Apple. Apple makes money on Final Cut. 3 million users to 4 million users. Let's say 4 million. They announced 2.5 in 2018, 3 years ago. Let's say 4 million. 4 times $300 is 1.2 billion with a B dollars. 1.2 billion with a B dollars for Final Cut Pro, just the software itself. It certainly makes money, and I don't see it stopping. As a matter of fact, when they came out this new version, Final Cut Pro 10.6, Final Cut Pro 11, I'm leaning more towards 11 at this point. I don't think Final Cut Pro 10.6, I think they're ready to give us a brand new major version. I don't think it's going to be 10.6 now. We'll have to see, but I think it's going to be Final Cut Pro 11. So here's something I want to just make a quick announcement. This is a new web series that I've started to work on. It's on my YouTube channel. One more thing. So what it's going to be single subject videos. It's going to concentrate on one thing. It's going to be easy to search. And I'm going to keep them shortish. It's going to be single subject and direct to the point, not meandering around and doing things. It's going to be single subject and direct to the point. I am not going to rush it and try to get it in under 60 seconds, for example. No, I'm not doing that. But I'm going to say probably the most of them are going to be 5 minutes or less, but they're going to be single subject. You'll be able to go down the list and pick the one that you want. I have 4 up right now, but I'm going to I have some new ones that I'm working on. One of the reasons I pick a subject is because if I keep seeing the same question over and over and over again in forums and stuff, I'll be likely to do a tutorial on that just so people have a reference. Just so people have a reference on what they're doing. So that'll be in my YouTube channel, which is, what is my YouTube channel? Let me close that up. YouTube.com, Richard Taylor TV. If you go over there, subscribe, you'll be notified of anything. I haven't really announced it yet. I have some new ones that I'm working on right now. Once again, it's called One More Thing. It's Final Cut Pro, production, and post-production. Mostly the NLE will be about Final Cut Pro, but I might do some camera things, iPhone things, production tips, audio things, but mostly about Final Cut Pro and production and post-production. Single subject. Each video is going to be single subject. Shortish, probably some will be a couple minutes, but I'd say 5 minutes will probably be an average, and it'll be direct to the point. So when I start, it's going to be building up right to the point, so you can just go click on it like a chapter and find out the information that you would like to see. That'll be forthcoming in the next week or so. I'll make the announcement, of course. Good idea, sounds great. It's inevitable that Apple will have to break up, especially when the car comes out. That will usher in the most change, but years away. They'll have to break up. You mean the car company will split off from Apple in general, and then they'll have a Final Cut Pro, whatever. We'll see how that goes. I'd only consider a subscription model if all Apple's Pro apps were included. Precarious situation. If Apple does this route, then I hope they do it the way Avid has, which, unlike Adobe, they do provide an option for a one-time purchase. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Nope, I'll move on to something else if this is the case. And this person says, like what? Premiere Pro subscription? Thought that was funny. And I said to a comment, I said, probably an option in addition to buying it outright. Probably, but if so, will the price for standalone be bumped? I think, if anything, the price will come down. I don't think this price will go up. I think the price will come down because that's typically what Apple does. Mac OS updates, free. Final Cut Pro, the original version of Final Cut Pro was over $1,000. I think it was $1,200, if I'm not mistaken, the original version. Studio, $1,200, and it came down, and it came down, and it came down. Then it was $100 something. Then it was $299, and then Final Cut Pro 10 years ago, almost 10 years ago, was $299, and the educational bundle now is $199. That includes 5 Pro apps, all the Pro apps that they charge for. I have all the Pro apps except for Main Stage. I don't perform live with Logic, so I didn't need that. If it's not optimized, then no dice. Many of us use Final Cut Pro because the optimization makes it easier, quicker to work with the timelines and push content out the door. If I had to, I'd pay a subscription because I've tried other software and nothing is as efficient for me. These were on Twitter, publicly on Twitter. Yes, I don't think the target audience of Final Cut Pro are folks who could manage on free open source alternative. Same way no one is using Logic Pro 10 would switch to Audacity. I vote option 4 from the article is most likely. Gives some sort of additional add-on subscription that gives more features or a service for collaboration. Adding a subscription model to Final Cut Pro wouldn't make it a dent in their bottom line and wouldn't be worth it. Unless they go hybrid route of perhaps Resolve, free and subscription with subscription providing access to some sort of online service, higher support. Apple is not big into subscription. The only subscription that I can think of is iCloud, right? Do they have, I guess they have some kind of a pro level subscription where you can get support at a higher level. I think that's also something that they have. Well, anyway, I'm glad everybody tuned in today. We'll see what happens. I don't think it's going to happen, but Apple did do something Apple did make that change publicly to include software rental. They did that. Apple did that. That's an action that they took. They didn't do it for no reason. They did not do it just to be, because somebody was bored. Apple Plus, there you go. Will the subscription include the other Pro apps, or will it be a la carte? Please tell me a permanent license is still an option, assuming Apple takes this path. David, I don't think they're going to take this path. If they do, I think it'll be an option. I think people that buy Final Cut Pro or have already bought it will be fine. Now, at some point, if Final Cut Pro 10, which we've had for 10 years, went to Final Cut Pro 11 in June, around the anniversary of Final Cut Pro, the 10-year anniversary, they could charge for that. That would be fine. 10 years, no charge, and then a one-time charge. Maybe at that point, they might say, if you want to subscribe for Final Cut, you could subscribe, and here's what it costs. If you want to include motion, I would imagine it would be the Pro Apps bundle. I can't see them doing 5 separate subscriptions for 5 different apps. If and when they do it, I don't really anticipate it happening. I think we're going to be fine. If they introduce Final Cut Pro 11 in 2021, maybe at the 10-year anniversary in June, they might say, here's what it costs if you want to buy the new version. If you want to continue using Final Cut Pro 10.5, that's yours as long as you want. But if you want Final Cut Pro 11, here's the cost. Maybe they'll have a discount for Final Cut Pro 10.5 users. We'll have to see. I don't see it happening. I mean, Apple, they don't really have subscription software besides iCloud, and that's really a service. That's a service, so it's not really a subscription software. They don't have any subscription software, do they? I don't think they do. I don't know. Is that a big moneymaker for them? I don't think so. We'll see. I think it'll be fine, whatever way they go. If they offer a subscription service for people, as well as buying it outright, that's fine. Maybe you'll pay for updates. Nobody seems to mind paying for updates. I think people mostly object to the subscription service itself, which I understand. I completely understand that. Anything else going on? Let's just check. I'll check Twitter real fast and see what people are talking about on Twitter. People made a lot of comments about this subscription deal. All right, we'll finish up here. Let me do this. One of the best things about Final Cut Pro, it's not a subscription service. They are one of the few companies that can really afford not to have it a subscription service, so why screw with it? Besides, if they make it a subscription service, they'll have to offer bigger and more frequent updates, or people will think it's a ripoff. This is my favorite. No. Plain and simple, no. That's the end of the slides. And let me see something. Do I have an option? It's interesting. It's not showing me an option for, let me see if I have it up here. Nope. I don't have an option for the backyard cam, which is fine. This is my Stream Deck XL, my iPhone, which is monitoring my bird feeder, but the camera went offline. I think when I lost internet, it lost connection and didn't come back on. And this is my Apollo Twin X that I use for my audio. This is my microphone going in here. I have a TLM 103. That's that one. Plugged in here, I use this. This gives me all kinds of analog software plugins that I can use in real time as you're watching. Any other comments or questions? I have to actually, I'm waiting for it to warm up so I can go on my roof. I have a wood-burning stove, and I got this new cap that prevents wind from going down in it. So I have to go up once the snow is melted carefully and install that cap. Any other questions or comments before we sign off for the day? I think it is so cool that we disconnected and it reconnected right back in Final Cut. I really, really like that. So this guy says, 1 minute tech tips. Would this mean that people that already purchased Final Cut Pro 10, let me pull that up. Would this mean that people that already purchased Final Cut Pro 10 will have to pay for a subscription on top of that? I don't think so, because that would be horrible. Wow, this was one of my biggest reasons to eventually switch to Final Cut Pro 10 from Adobe Suite, but looks like I'll have to keep paying a subscription fee. No. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know. Okay? That's just because the article came out, just because that somebody noticed that Final Cut. Listen, Apple team, absolutely, not the Apple team. Apple absolutely changed the trademark very specifically, very intentionally. They said software rental. They did that intentionally. That's not a maybe. What that means, we'll have to see. I'm not worried about it. The biggest complaint I hear about Adobe software is the subscription model. Doesn't Apple want to differentiate? Of course. I think they will. I absolutely think they will. Thank you for the response. Avid offers a permanent license or subscription. Adobe would be wise to follow. Adobe actually has a model for government, maybe military, that's non-subscription. I've seen it myself. It's probably expensive, but it's not available to the general public because Adobe doesn't care about their customers. If Adobe polled their customers and asked them, would you like to buy a version or rent or have the option to do either? They don't want to hear the answer. They know the answer. Many of them would say, we'd rather buy. We'd rather buy. They don't care. They don't care about their customers that way. So anyway, everybody, I'm going to head out of here. I don't think there's any more comments. Everybody, thanks for tuning in. I am going to sign off for the day. What do we have here? This is, let me pull this up. FCP TV Live. You can go over there at Final Cut Pro Radio. I'm going to have a podcast out. What is today? The 24th. I'll have a podcast out within the next couple of days. Part 2 of our workflow in Final Cut Pro with Alex is what I'm planning on putting out. And then we'll be headed to March, right? So March, the first day of spring arrived on March the 20th. The first day of spring arrives on March the 20th. That's when it arrives. They call it the vernal equinox, equal day, equal night. My birthday. I was born on the first day of spring, March the 20th. Every year I look forward to that. So anyway, everybody, I'm going to get out of here. If any breaking news, anything else happens, Final Cut Pro TV Live, I will come back on. Like I did this morning. I wasn't planning on coming on today, but when I saw this, I figured people would want to talk about it. And of course, you all absolutely wanted to talk about it. Garrett says, thanks, Richard. Would love to see the whole show. Internet is still going on and off here. Garrett, you can watch it on replay on Facebook and YouTube. It'll be there waiting for you to show up. All right. Turn that off. Thanks, everyone. I appreciate everybody tuning in to FCP TV Live. My name's Richard Taylor. You can find me on Facebook and on Twitter. Thanks.